What if your morning latte costs more because of a speech in Davos and a tariff fight in Washington? Today, Ottawa's coffee cup tells a bigger story about climate, trade, and how the capital is feeling it. Snow today in Ottawa, with temperatures from -16 to -2 degrees Celsius. Prime Minister Mark Carney is redrawing Canada's trade map. After nearly a year of U.S. tariffs under President Donald Trump strained the relationship with Washington, Carney is moving to diversify, inking new deals with China and building partnerships with Qatar. It's a pragmatic pivot born of a harder global reality. The old U.S.-led, rules-based order that Canada relied on for generations is, in Carney's words, over. At Davos, he laid it out bluntly. Integration with superpowers can quickly slide into subordination. Middle powers like Canada need strategic autonomy on energy, food, minerals, and supply chains. Reliance on multilateral institutions, diminished. The takeaway for Ottawa businesses is clear. Spread risk, find new partners, and prepare to protect critical interests when the big players weaponize interdependence. That's not abstract geopolitics. It shows up in the price of your coffee. Global coffee costs are climbing. Climate change is hammering production and transportation costs are up. Here in Ottawa, roasters and cafes are struggling to absorb those increases, and in many cases, raising prices. Some are looking at new suppliers or tweaking blends to manage margins. And consumers are noticing. Fewer coffee shop visits, more sticker shock at the grocery store. It's a microcosm of the broader inflation puzzle, made worse by climate stress on crops and tetchy trade routes. As Canada hedges away from a volatile U.S. market and towards new partners, expect supply chains to be rebuilt with resilience in mind. More sources, shorter routes where possible, and increasingly, smarter planning tools to anticipate climate disruptions. The China piece of Carney's pivot is already stirring debate. Political analyst Eric Ham notes that while President Trump has called Canada's new trade deal with China good, his advisors are split. It's a stunning turn from 2024, when Carney labeled China Canada's biggest security threat, and Ottawa joined Washington in slapping tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. 2 years later, the government says the recalibrated relationship with Beijing is strategic, pragmatic, and decisive, and notably, that China is more predictable right now than the U.S. under Trump. That's hard-nosed realpolitik, and it will test Canada's ability to balance economic gain against security concerns. On the home front, federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is making moves after losing his Carleton seat in April. He won't run in Battle River Crowfoot next election. Conservatives confirm Damien Carrick will carry that riding. Remember, Carrick had stepped aside to let Poilievre contest a by-election there. Now the party's resetting, and Poilievre's new campaign manager, Steve Outhouse, is working the phones to repair strained relationships with the premiers of Ontario and Nova Scotia. For Conservatives, rebuilding ties with provincial progressive Conservative leaders is a priority if they want a unified base and a clearer path back to power, especially in vote-rich Ontario. Out west, Alberta's first citizen-initiated recall petition has failed to meet the bar. The attempt to recall Education Minister Dimitrios Nicolaides needed 16,000 signatures. Organizers brought in roughly 6,500. Jenny Jeremy, who led the effort, still submitted the petition to Elections Alberta to make a point about constituent dissatisfaction and called the threshold pretty damn impossible. It's a reminder that while recall offers a release valve, the bar is deliberately high. Still, organizers say the mobilization itself is groundwork for future political fights. And in the only in 2026 category, a new survey finds 17% of Americans favor annexing Canada. The majority, though, want Canada and Greenland to remain independent. It's an eyebrow raiser, not a policy, more a reflection of noisy online discourse than any serious agenda. But it does underline how cross-border politics seep into public opinion, especially in an election-charged U.S. Let's hit the ice. The Ottawa Senators snapped Columbus's 4-game win streak with a 4-1 statement. Tyler Clevin and Tim Stutzle struck early in the first. Ridley Greig added a goal and an assist, and James Reimer stopped 21 for his first win as a Senator. That's the bounce-back Ottawa needed after a 2-game slide, and a reminder that swagger can return quickly in this league. Over in Winnipeg, Mark Scheifele went off, 2 goals and an assist, as the Jets beat the Blues 3-1. Josh Morrissey added a goal and 2 helpers, while St. Louis, now losers in 5 of 7, got a lone marker from Jordan Kyrou. And after beating Ottawa on Sunday, the Detroit Red Wings are preaching a simple gospel: win inside the division if you want to play meaningful games in April. The Sens will need to match that urgency in their own divisional battles. It's not just the NHL carrying Ottawa's hockey banner. In the PWHL, the Ottawa Charge faced the Montreal Victoire at Place Bell in Laval, with the game on CBC. It's a showcase of elite women's hockey and a rivalry we're lucky to have close to home. If you haven't tuned in yet, this is a great entry point. Back to the big picture. Carney's call for strategic autonomy meets Ottawa's daily reality in those rising coffee prices. Climate change isn't a distant headline. When drought or extreme rainfall hits coffee-growing regions, we pay more at the counter. When superpower trade policies swing, it changes where our beans, our batteries, and our groceries come from and how much they cost. Middle Power Canada is trying to navigate that squeeze, diversify markets, harden supply chains, and cooperate with fellow mid-sized countries where interests align. It's a bet that resilience beats reliance. For Ottawa households and businesses, the next few months will be about adjustment. Cafes weighing tougher choices on menus and margins. Shoppers deciding which splurges still fit. Politicians road-testing messages in a changed economy. And a senator's team trying to stack wins as the calendar tightens. Through it all, we'll keep watching how climate pressure and geopolitical friction show up in everyday prices, and how policy choices in Davos and Washington ripple down Bank Street. That's it for today. Snow on the ground, coffee a little pricier, and Canada's trade compass pointing to new horizons. We'll be back with more Ottawa stories that connect the local and the global.